Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today's deck is going to focus around the Cofagrigus from the Noble Victory set. So we're going to be focusing on trying to make its Damadrigus attack work. I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing both the attack and the Pokemon's name correctly, so my apologies in advance in case I am not. But so what this means is that, of course, this is going to be an expanded deck, but nonetheless one that has been working really impressively well thus far. So Cofagrigus, the Damadrigus attack, you guys are probably thinking, well, which Pokemon would we exactly use it with? Because it moves all damage counters from one of our bench Pokemon to the defending Pokemon. And the Pokemon that I have in mind is going to be the Wailord EX with a massive 250 HP. It can absorb quite a bit of damage, and then when it's on the brink of that, that's when we bring out the Cofagrigus and then use the Damadrigus attack to knock out the opponent's Pokemon. So it's actually a bit of a sneaky combination. Not a lot of players foresee it, just because whenever people see the Cofagrigus on our bench, they usually don't make much of it. You know, they don't actually pay attention. And then once we use the attack, that's when players really start to get worried, because we've just managed to pull off a massive kill, oftentimes, which allows us to draw into 2 prize cards, and it really swings the game in our favor. So I really like the fact that it is a very sneaky combination. So we will be running 3 copies of the Wailord EX. Its water availability can be useful, especially since I've been seeing a lot of decks inflicting those special conditions on us, so that is kind of nice. But of course, how we'll be retreating the Wailord EXs is through the usage of the float stones that we will be running in our deck. So we are running 3 float stones for the 3 Wailord EXs in our deck. Some other Pokemon that we are running, guys, the main attacker of our deck is really going to be the Gengar EX. We're going to be repeatedly making use of its Dark Corridor attack and then switching out into that Wailord EX so that we can then soak up the damage from the opponent's Pokemon. So that Gengar EX, again, has the flexibility of attacking and then switching out into one of our bench Pokemon. And of course, once that Wailord EX is then on the brink of that, that's when we bring out the Cofagrigus. I also felt like it was nice to include a single copy of the Mega Gengar EX. Never know, in some situations, we'd prefer to make use of the opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and of course any of the opponent's Pokemon in their bench as well. So that Mega Gengar EX is a very versatile and powerful Pokemon as well, at a menacing 220 HP, so we are running a single copy of him. Of course, since we are running Mega Gengar EX, I felt like it would be a good move on our part to at least include a single Gengar Spirit Link, which is of course what I am going to be doing, just so that we don't have to give up a turn when evolving that Gengar EX into the Mega Gengar EX. The very last Pokemon that we are running in our deck, guys, will be 2 copies of that Shaman EX with the setup ability. So ideally this is just so that we can get our setup going a little bit earlier, and of course it has the Sky Return attack, so in case we're unable to make use of that Gengar EX's Night Corridor attack, we could always make use of that Sky Return attack. All we need is a double colorless energy that Shaman EX will attack and then come back into our hand, so of course it sort of still functions as the same type of attack as the Gengar EX. Of course, Gengar EX though is a much better attacker overall, allowing us to hit for 60 damage, and of course poisoning the opponent's active Pokemon. So we'd like to keep the usage of the Shaman EX to a minimum if possible, but of course we can make use of it in case we really need to. Some other cards that we are running in our deck, guys, we will be running 3 copies of the Robo Substitute. This is just to give us a bit of flexibility in case we are facing a Camerupt EX deck, for example, or another sort of deck that can ravage our Wailord EX in a single attack. So in those sorts of instances, the Robo Substitute may just be the way to go. So we will be running 3 copies of it. We are also running 2 copies of the Heavy Ball. This will allow us to grab either the Cofagrigus or the Wailord EX. It's actually been helping me out a great deal, so I would highly recommend its inclusion in the deck. So in our case, we will be running 2 copies of it, and of course we are running 3 copies of the Ultra Ball as well. Now, most of the other cards in our deck are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm just going to be discussing the A-Spec quickly and the the Stadium card that we will be using. So our A-Spec is going to be the Dowsing Machine, allows us to discard 2 cards from our hand, and then we can grab any of our discarded item or trainer cards and make use of them again. So I felt like Dowsing Machine was the way to go. Seems to be performing quite well in this deck. I haven't actually tested Computer Search in this deck, but I mean, this deck has been performing very well right now, so I feel like Dowsing Machine is exceptionally useful, again, just because we have a high reliance on a lot of our item type cards. Of course, the stadium card is going to be the Dimension Valley. I mean, you guys might be thinking, well, why aren't you making usage of a Verbank City Gem and Dimension Valley sort of mix in there? Well, the reason is that the Cofagrigus attack requires 2 energy cards to be able to attack. However, with Dimension Valley, it only requires a single energy card, and I honestly have been finding the Dimension Valley a lot more helpful overall, so that's why we are sticking with 4 copies of it. And yeah, so the rest of our cards are pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to be going through them really quickly. So we're running a single escape rope to allow us to switch in between our Pokemon. Again, 1 Starling Megaphone will allow us to deal with those Garbodors. 3 Ultra Balls will allow us to grab the Pokemon that we need. 2 VS Seekers to make use of our supporter cards again, 1 Colress, 4 Ends, and 4 Junipers for some draw support, 2 Lysanders to lure out a single one of our opponent's Pokemon, of course the Float Stones, which I have already discussed, 2 Muscle Bands to increase the total damage output of the Gengar EXs and possibly our Shaman EXs as well, and a total of 11 energy cards. 2 of them will be Mystery Energies, 5 of them will be Psychic Energies, and 4 of them will be the Double Colorless Energy. So with that, guys, let's go and find ourselves an opponent. Again, just keep in mind that this is an expanded deck, so we're is running. Hopefully we can catch them off guard with the usage of the Cofagrigus attack, and let's see which one of us will be able to start first. Looks like the opponent will be able to start off. I saw several different types of Pokemon in there, water, fire, things like that. I'm not really sure if the opponent is running all that competitive of a deck. Again, in the expanded format, you tend to encounter a lot more inexperienced players, I guess you could say, usually because they're lacking a lot of good cards from the expanded format, and sometimes they're just older players just getting back into the game, so that is just something to consider. So we are just waiting on the opponent. Very unusual name. I'm not sure if that was the day which they created their PTCGO account, or maybe that's just their computer specs, but just a really weird kind of name. So it looks like we're going to start off with the Gengar EX. Luckily we do have the N in our hand, so I will absolutely be making use of that. And depending on what Pokemon I see the opponent bring out, I'm either going to latch on the Gengar Spirit Link onto our Gengar EX, or possibly the Muscle Band. Of course, that is provided that the opponent does not make use of a card such as the N. So again, our opponent is playing very slowly, already burned 1 minute and 30 seconds in the game and hasn't even done anything yet. So I'm not really sure if they are someone who just plans on wasting our time, or maybe they're just lagging severely. Again, I'm not entirely sure, but I really feel like the PTCGO should do something about all those players wasting time. Something akin to what's being done in tournaments, for example, where the time limit is only 12 minutes and 50 seconds. I mean, that's usually more than enough for a player to finish their game, and it's a lot less abusable than giving both the opponent and myself 25 minutes. I mean, that's 50 minutes for a single battle. That is just a ridiculous amount, and the only people that you would ever see go through the entire 50 minutes is players that are trying to abuse the time and just making their opponents angry. So we are seeing a Mewtwo EX, a Suicune, and the Keldeo EX make their appearance. So that Suicune could serve as a bit of a problematic Pokemon to us. So we're gonna have to try and take care of him using the Cofagrigus ideally. So this could be a bit of a tricky game. Again, the opponent just taking their time. We do see the Mewtwo EX as the opponent's active Pokemon though, so that is kind of nice. It does have the Psychic weakness. Should be relatively easy for a Gengar EX to be able to knock it out, which of course I will absolutely try and make use of that. Yeah, again, so we're seeing the opponent just wasting a whole ton of time, almost 3 minutes down in the game, and all he's done right now is bring out his Pokemon and attach a Fire Energy card onto that Mewtwo EX. I have to say I really dislike players that waste time. Looks like we're just going to see a Fire Energy card. I think attaching the Muscle Band may be a little bit more helpful to the Gengar EX as opposed to, to what's it called, to the Gengar Spirit Link, at least for now. I'm going to go and lay down the Dimension Valley as well, and I could Lysander out one of our opponent's Pokemon and then start sniping them with the Night Attack, but I think I'm going to go and use that N instead. And okay, so I'm gonna go and latch on a Mystery Energy card onto the Gengar EX. Let's go and use that Night Attack and inflict some damage on the opponent's Mewtwo EX for now. I should be able to knock it out during our next turn. With the Dark Corridor, we would be able to hit for 120, but with the Muscle Band, that will increase the damage output to 160 damage, more than enough to knock out the opponent's Mewtwo EX in a single attack. That Mewtwo EX, however, could inflict up to possibly 80 damage, or yeah, 80 damage if he gets the double colors energy, 100 damage if he happens to get a muscle band as well. So that could be kind of problematic. We are seeing several different types of energy cards that the opponent seems to be running, and looks like they will be laying down the Rough Sea Stadium card. Startling Megaphone as well, getting rid of that muscle band. Luckily, we do have another one at hand, so we will absolutely be able to get rid of the opponent's Mewtwo EX. Let's go and attach a double colorless energy onto that Gengar EX and the muscle band as well. Let's keep the Rough Sea Stadium card at play right now. May want to get rid of it a little bit later on, but for now let's go and use that N to get some new cards in our hand. I do have the Ultra Ball. I could absolutely make use of it, and I think I will, so let's go and get rid of that Gengar Spirit Link and that Juniper from our hand. We'll be bringing out our very first Yamask. I could also bring out Wailord EX. You know what, let's go and bring out that Wailord EX, a real damage soak in the deck, and then let's go and use that Dark Corridor attack and knocking out the opponent's Mewtwo EX, and then drawing onto our very first 2 prize cards. I'm also really going to need the Cofagrigus in case I'd like to take care of that Suicune. That's pretty much our only hope. Unfortunately, even Night Attack does not work on these Safeguard Pokemon because it allows the opponent to prevent all effects of attacks, including damage. If it just said it prevents damage, then Night Attack would have been able to sort of bypass that restriction, but unfortunately it doesn't. So we're gonna have to take care of that Suicune using the Damadrigus. Alright, so let's go and bring out the Yamask. I'm gonna go and lay down a the Robo Substitute on our bench as well. Let's go and attach a Psychic Energy card onto that Yamask, and then the Float Stone onto that Wailord EX. I'm gonna go and use that VS Seeker to look for that Juniper. I feel like it would be much more helpful than the N at this point. I could use the Heavy Ball, but I think I'm going to save it for next turn when I'd like to bring out that Cofagrigus. So let's go and retreat that Wailord EX, bring out that Gengar EX, and then I'm going to go and make use of that Night Attack. Alright, well, doesn't really matter, just because the opponent will be able to heal, but let me just demonstrate to you guys that Suicune is indeed immune to even the effects of Night Attack. So as you guys saw, it did absolutely nothing. I would have, of course, regularly sniped out that Caldeo EX, but unfortunately that Rough Sea Stadium card was at play, so a Dowsing Machine would have been a wise choice to play to bring out that Dimension Valley, but I had already clicked on my attack and I don't think I was able to undo it. So that Suicune is almost loaded up and ready to attack. I think I may actually let that Gengar EX take a little bit of damage and then heal him off instead, because he's already taken 60 damage. I don't foresee that Suicune as being able to knock out that Gengar EX in a single attack, so we should be relatively safe. For the time being though, I will just be getting the Cofagrigus loaded up and ready to attack, and then hopefully we can make use of it. Looks like the opponent is going to bring out another Suicune, so hopefully we can catch him off guard. Let's go and attach a Mystery Energy onto that Yamask, use that Heavy Ball, and then bring out the Cofagrigus. I will also be bringing out the Dimension Valley. I do want to be able to start sniping the opponent's Caldeo EX, so let's go and bring out that Dimension Valley. Use that Colress for some new cards in our hand. We do have the Shaman EX. I don't really think I'd like to use it. I don't think we really need it. So I'm gonna go and use the Ultra Ball to get rid of that Shaman EX in our hand, and let's get rid of that Startling Megaphone as well to bring out an additional Gengar EX, which I would like to start loading up. So let's go and attach. Sorry, I can't attach the Double Colors Energy. Looks like I've already attached for the turn. So let's go and use that Night Attack and hit that Caldeo EX for 30 damage. Alright, so that Suicune should now be able to attack us. And of course, we should then be able to attack the opponent's Suicune using the Damadrigus, should be able to knock it out in a single attack. So we're seeing the Rough Sea Stadium card coming out once again, that Caldeo EX getting healed back to full HP. Gengar EX only 40 HP remaining, but that is more than enough to allow us to make use of that Cofagrigus and take advantage of the opponent. So I'm going to go and attach the Float Stone as well to the Cofagrigus. I don't think we really need it. I'm going to go and attach it to that Gengar EX. I don't think I'm really going to be bringing out the Mega Gengar EX anyway, so let's go and use that the Juniper to get some new cards in our hand. We'll be retreating that Gengar EX, bringing out the Cofagrigus, and then using the Damadrigus, knocking out the opponent's Suicune to allow us to draw onto a prize card. I don't really think our opponent foresaw that coming, and that's really going to set them back to stage 1, I guess you could say, step 1 of the game. Still has absolutely no prize cards, and none of our active Pokemon or our bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them whatsoever, so Really do like this Pokemon. Again, it's very sneaky and not a whole lot of players really expected. And yeah, so we are gonna see the opponent quit the game. So I think that is gonna be it, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.